All right, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing another one of these scrolling through my IG vids. It's been a little while since I put one out. I was trying to do this a couple weeks ago as I was getting really close to my show, and I was just like not mentally there. It wasn't entertaining. I was fucking things up, misspeaking a lot, and I just, I kind of look like a psycho. When you're like, 2 weeks out from a show, you just have this like look in your eyes. And I decided I'd wait till after the show to do this, so I'd be a little bit more lively. So I did post kind of a recap of the North Americans. If you're interested to see how I did and how that show was, check that out. I'll link it above. So today we're going to start off with Jordan Peters. I'm a big fan of Trained by JP. I've been following him for years. I've been known of him since maybe like 2016. And he is by far one of the most respected and trusted individuals in the fitness industry. And this was really cool what he did. So let me show you this. So I was looking at his post and I saw this. There he is, super intense. That's why people love him. That intensity is like so motivating. He's a logbook guy, and he has to really get that intensity and the adrenaline up to beat those numbers. So let's look at him on this. Okay, so he's all ramped up, he's ready to go, and here we go. Explosive. But notice how we have like the whole compression of the rib cage and then an expansion of it, and that's really helping to move the weight. It's really not just coming from the pecs. And again, not that you need it all to come from there. You can get a little bit, but that was like pretty excessive. And you could tell that's like a technique that he's using to beat that logbook. So that's one of the reasons I really don't love the logbook, is because you can push up your numbers, but you can do it by getting things involved that aren't the target muscles if you use more like compressive techniques like this. Now, I really like this because this is a single arm move and he's not able to do the same technique. So he's kind of got one side expanding as the other is compressing. And so I made a little comment on here. I said, big fan, but I think you've beaten the logbook. At this point, you're just using more compression of your rib cage to produce more force on your presses, especially. His pulls actually were really good. I'll check those out in a second. Love the single arm stuff. That is really beneficial for someone like you who is so compressed front to back. Also, I worry about your heavy stiff leg deads. Your hinge point at the tail junction has gotten worse. So he responds, I don't disagree, buddy. I'm being very smart with the pulling now. I'm doing much less, and it won't be long until I just bend it off entirely. My body is close to falling apart, that's for sure. And so he admits that the way he's lifting is causing a lot of issues, and I thought that was really cool. And like I was saying before, when you're trying to beat this logbook, you're going to do whatever it takes to get past that number. So that's why I'm not necessarily a big fan of it, because you can start to use a little bit of subtle momentum, or you can do like he does and just really use compression from the rib cage. So let me show you what that looks like. So excited, I get to use my rib cage model. So he was really using this technique where he was closing this rib cage down, really getting a lot of anterior compression. And then as he's pressing, he was exploding up. So he's compressing here, and then he's switching that for compression in the back, kind of. So he's squished in the front, squished in the back. And that push is helping generate a lot of force. And it's actually taking away range of motion from the pecs and taking away tension. So we're around it, really compressed here, and then push, really extended there. So that is able to drive a lot of force coming from things that aren't our pecs. And the fact that he's like, still works out this way while he's having so many issues, it shows you that like oftentimes what you love is what'll kill you. And he loves training this way. And I love seeing him. He's super motivating to see that level of intensity, but he is creating little issues. And what I thought was just so cool was that he actually messaged me privately, and check this out. So he said, just wanted to thank you for that comment. It's not often I get constructive criticism that is really helpful. I'm going to get off that chest press now, as it's just letting me coil up too much and explode out of the press way too much. So I just said, I'm honored, my man, thanks. So I have so much respect for JP. For him to actually take the time and write me a private message was awesome. And I certainly didn't expect this the next time he had his chest rotation up. Check this out. So look, he's starting with a single arm because you're not able to really use that technique that he was using, that compensation. And look what he says. Full upper again, repeat on everything as 3 sleeps ago, only changed that first movement. Someone smart, and then he tagged me, J Warren Fit, last session pointed out that I was increasing my ribcage compression as sessions have gone on and using this to explode. And I agreed. And so that was awesome. The fact that he shouted me out on his page, that was so cool. It's really opposite of how his buddy James is. If you remember, I did a little post on him a couple videos ago on the IG, and he was basically the exact opposite. Say, I'm not going to listen to anybody unless you're huge. I don't care what you say. And his coach and like best friend, exactly the opposite. And it just shows the different mindsets and why JP is such a good coach, because he's receptive. And so after he shouted me out, look at all these follows I got. Like, these are all from him. I ended up getting like 200 over the next 2 days. And that just goes to show you how much people respect what he has to say. Because I've had Sergio shout me out, and he's got more followers than JP, but his people follow him to like see his lifestyle, see him working out and stuff. They don't really follow him for like specific advice. These people all really, really think JP's like word is gospel. So I got so many followers from that. So that was awesome. I really appreciate that. So I thought that was just super cool. And this is the deadlifts I was looking at that I was not loving. This hinge point right here has gotten pretty bad. It used to not be so significant. I don't think he really needs to do the deficit. This is a real big orientation pattern. He's real strong. So, he can do it, but I have no doubt that that's causing some of the issues. And he's talked about in other posts how he doesn't pull that off anymore because he's got sciatica. And it's like I said, what we love will kill us oftentimes. And he loves fucking picking up heavy shit off the floor, even though it's causing a little bit of issues. Now, if we look at his rows, he actually does a really good job of not getting a lot of compression force on this, where a lot of people do. I'll show you an example in just a little bit of someone who does the opposite of this. But he's really like stopping and not letting his chest sink in and that rib cage compress. So that means he's keeping more tension on the back muscles, and he's actually getting a full stretch on those instead of over-exaggerating and losing tension because he's compressing that front of the rib cage. Yeah, all these are really money. And I think his technique on pulls is much better than James, as I reviewed in that other video I was talking about. James just uses crazy extension and compression as he pulls, like on everything. Like JP's coming off, but he's coming off with some intra-abdominal, intrathoracic pressure. Like on this one, whenever James did this, his whole pelvis was moving. He was anteriorly tilting there. This is really money. These are really good. This is super good technique for someone as strong as JP. Now let's look at someone who I wasn't really familiar with. He was suggesting for me to check out Milo Wolf, right? Is it Milo? Probably Milo. Milo Wolf. Dr. Milo Wolf. If we look at him right here, this is exactly what I was talking about that you didn't see JP doing. JP is the meathead, but he's using better form than the super smart exercise science guy who's really obsessed with the stretch. So I guess that's Milo's whole thing, is he's like really into really big lengthen ranges and partial lengthen ranges. So on this, at a certain point, let's bring out the rib cage every chance we get. So say this is my rib cage and I'm stretching here. That is a full stretch. Once I start to compress and go through there, I'm no longer getting like any more tension on the muscles, and it's going to end up taking away as I pull because I'm going to end up compressing backwards to kind of bring the whole rib cage back. And then we look at his chest press. Again, there's not a lot of tension on the chest. He's really letting those shoulder blades squeeze a lot there. It's going to limit the protraction. We're not in that depressed position. I've talked about a lot of times you want to be way more depressed in your shoulder blades than retracted to get good pecs. You actually want to be able to get a little protraction on them, and you can that way. So I really don't like the way he presses that much, but let's look at his squats. Now, like this is solid. That looks good. That's still good, and that's 90 degrees. That's pretty good with 360. This guy's not huge. Shit, I'll even take that. That is a parallel, so like 95 to 100 degree squat. That looks good. His back isn't doing anything crazy. His center of gravity is really centered. Even there. And then as soon as we get a little bit more, we see that forward shift in center of gravity, the butt starting to come under. You were fine like 2 inches higher. That's still a pretty deep squat. We don't need to get all the way here. And now we've just like taken tension off the quads and we've rounded and just shifted forward. So I wouldn't do this with that much weight on my back. I don't mind doing goblets where I'm getting down into some decent lumbar flexion, although this is still a little excessive. There's not a ton of what's called a counter nutation happening if we're getting that much of a butt wink. Yeah, this isn't terrible at all. He's just going like 10% too far, 15% too far. You don't need to force that. Let's see where he's good. Good. That's still good. Right about there's your in range. And that's a deep squat without much weight. That's totally good. That's all quads. And now we've just lost a little bit of tension and put a little bit of extra stuff on our back. So no need to force that range. That's a good range before you get to that kind of butt wink. And your back will feel better and you'll get more tension on your quads. So just don't be so obsessed with deep range of motion. And we see the same issue on the leg press. Once you get to a certain range, we just start pelvic tilting, getting lumbar flexion. And especially because he's doing like lengthened range here, this is really more of a back move than a quad move, I would say, at that range. Okay, let's see what Milo has to say about the dumbbell fly.
The dumbbell fly is the single most slept on exercise for chest growth.
I mean, the way he's doing it isn't super optimal. Just like a press, you want to keep some control of your ribs. Now, when you fly, you are going to go more retraction than you will with a press, where a press is pretty depressed. You do get a good squeeze. Now, you don't want to completely give up your ribs and your intrathoracic pressure as you do that, though. So you should have a little bit of control. You don't want to completely flare there. Still, keep a little bit of control. Still go into retraction, that's fine. But again, no need to get excessive. And anytime we do that, we take tension off. Right there is plenty. Really, you should never see that big of a low rib flare on really any movement.
Growth, and here's why. Most chest exercises miss out on getting a big stretch. When you're barbell pressing, when you're dumbbell pressing, you don't get a full stretch.
I mean, again, that's super flared ribs, super extended, not getting a ton of pecs there. You're so stretch obsessed, you're missing tension. So, I mean, to me, this Milo guy falls in the same camp as like the Dr. Mikes, who else? Like the Jeff Nippers, these guys who just think that more stretch is always better, even though it's no longer like active tension. We're just going on connective tissue and letting our body just orient chunks together to get to a certain range of motion. And you may have heard me mention it before, but this is just kind of dead guy anatomy. This is just thinking the body's 2D and is a system of pulley and levers, and they're not taking into account how the shape and the volume of your axial skeleton, your ribcage, and your pelvis impacts everything in the way that you direct tension. Okay, so it's not just move as big as I can. You got to think how I'm changing the shape of my ribs, how the changing the shape of the pelvis is going to change where the tension is on the body.
Stretch on your chest because the dumbbells or barbell reach your chest before you get it fully stretched. In contrast,
why do the dumbbells reach your chest before you go? I mean, how long dumbbells are you doing? You should be able to go as deep as you want if you want to get a crazy stretch with dumbbells.
In a dumbbell fly, you can both retract the scapula, further lengthening the lower chest, but also get a full range of motion and get your arms out all the way without any restriction on your stretch. Why am I focusing on the stretch? Well, that's because some research suggests that focusing on the lengthened position through, for example, a lengthened partial may actually...
I just get so over these studies that people put where it's like, you're getting untrained individuals, you're extrapolating like a lot from them, when it's like, we've seen giant humans. There's a lot of big people in the world, big muscular people, and why are we discounting every single thing they say? Like, they obviously know something, and none of them are doing these ridiculous, huge, in-range emotions to get the most out of the stretch. Like, at a certain point, load matters. If you can't load that huge stretch, and then are you going to really stimulate a hypertrophy response? I don't really see it happening.
Actually cause more muscle growth compared to a full range of motion. So the common criticism that a dumbbell fly doesn't get you to have a peak contraction for your chest may actually just be its strength in promoting more muscle growth. And
one thing I really like to do is I do love dumbbell flies a lot because you do get a good lengthened stretch, and I'm all for that. I love lengthened tension. I'm just not going to go crazy and lose targeted tension on the muscle to just get more artificial range of motion. But what I'll do oftentimes, because this doesn't get a huge in-range contraction, is I'll superset dumbbell flies with a cable fly, where it's really all about that in-range contraction. I'll set it up to where the arms are like pretty wide. I'm like in the middle, so it's really more about shoulder like adduction. Whereas whenever you're in a dumbbell fly, it's almost more like a press motion. Like I'm thinking more press with long arms, where on the fly with the cable, I'm thinking close together and get that in-range stretch. So I superset those together, and it's one of my favorite supersets.
Indeed, the exercise is functionally a lengthened partial. You don't have much tension at the very top of the rep, and the tension increases as you lengthen the pecs even more. Importantly, the dumbbell fly hits both the upper and lower chest, since both contribute towards bringing your arms towards the midline of your body. So for overall chest growth, try the dumbbell fly. It may just be the single best chest exercise according to the science.
When you say the single best chest exercises, dumbbell fly is not putting on more muscle than any kind of a dumbbell press, so it's a little silly. So let's break down his press in a little bit more. We see the crazy rib flare right away. So anytime that happens, we're going to lose tension on any of these fibers of the pecs that attach to the rib cage. So all the sternal fibers we're losing a lot on. Maybe hypothetically you might get more out of the clavicular fibers. I don't believe that either, but you're definitely not getting the sternal fibers. And so big, huge arch, a lot of space right there. And you don't see a lot of protraction going there, and then you can't really protract when you're squeezed back so hard. So again, that's why you need to depress more. So let's kind of break down the difference between stabilizing through your back and stabilizing through your obliques and keeping your ribs down. So this is a physical therapist that's out by me, and we do some networking. We're on the same page with most things. He's a PRI guy. So just check this out. Which way do you lift? Now we see some extension there. This isn't even big. Or using your obliques. All right? So you can use your back to stabilize, like right here, the ribs are up. Or you can use your obliques, the ribs are down, we're in that cylinder position. Okay, which is better? In the first video, he's arching his back, which flares my ribs and engages my back muscles. In essence, back muscles are being used to bench press. In the second clip, I'm flattening my back with my ribs retracted. And the first one, when you're stabilizing with your back, it's like big retraction. And the second one, when you stabilize with your ribs, your shoulder blades are just going to pull apart a little bit naturally. So think more depression than retraction. I'm flattening my back with my ribs retracted, engaging obliques with back muscles less active. In other words, I'm using my obliques to do the lift. Which is better? It depends on your goal. You may be able to lift more when you bias your back muscles during the lift, but it comes at a cost. Increased compression in your body, increased joint pressure, increased tendon load, and increased demand of your back extensors. So this increased compression, this increased joint pressure, and this increased tendon load all take away from the target muscles. By biasing your obliques, you can lift completely differently while reducing the load throughout your body. You may have to sacrifice the amount of weight that you can lift initially, but this is something that can be trained and improved with proper progression. There's nothing inherently wrong with using your back to press. It's just bodybuilders use your back for everything. Inadvertently, you're going to use it. So just go the opposite. Let that pendulum swing the other way, and you'll meet in the middle a little bit more. With all my people and with myself, I'm pretty like almost trying to keep my back totally flat. I'm trying to keep my ribs totally down, because when it gets to max effort, it's not going to happen anyway. You're going to compress a little bit, but just be aware and don't let it be super excessive. The reason you have to reduce the weight a little bit is because there's not bleeding tension everywhere to the connective tissue. You're putting more on the target muscle, but you can still get strong as fuck doing this. For example, here's my man, Nicholas Jackson, who I did a podcast with, which you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it, because this guy is awesome. He's super inspiring. Full-time attorney, has no colon at all, and had 8 months with an ostomy bag while he was training and trying to get ready to compete. Super inspiring guy. But anyway, here he is benching 500 pounds like a bodybuilder without crazy compression, without extending the back and flaring the ribs. So you can get strong as shit. It just takes a little bit more time, and you're not going to be as strong as you could be if you lifted with your back, but you can build up to 5 plates that way, and you're going to have a lot better pecs. Check out my man. Awesome pec development. And again, you won't see that on someone who presses with that flare, because they're really missing the benefit of getting the stretch along that rib cage. Their obsession with the stretch is actually taking away the stretch. All right, so what do we have here? A little meme that Milo posted. All right, so in this we have this one dude saying you got to lift heavy to grow muscle, don't go above 10 reps. And you got this other guy saying, well, actually, as long as you get close to failure, you can use lightweight. You can do sets of 5 all the way to 50, and he cites some study. Again, everybody can cite a study for whatever they want and have totally different opinions and still use sometimes the same study and just pull out different stuff from it. I don't see anybody building muscle significantly more than a beginner using 50 reps. Okay, I've always been in the camp 5 to 20. That's really all you need. You can go a little above that, especially if you're on gear. But if you're natural, I really think you should be like in that 6 to 10 rep range for the most part. This is part of the new age kind of exercise science way of thinking, where it's like they want to think that they're so smart that they have like a secret, when that's not the case at all. You know, like just work hard, just lift fucking heavy weight. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel, do kind of crazy shit. Perfect example is this ridiculous dip. So we're going so crazy deep, getting, not a lot of tension on our pecs, maybe some front delts, no weight, because you can't really use weight in this kind of position. I mean, you're also putting your shoulders in a pretty precarious position. That's a ton of shoulder extension that he doesn't have. I mean, I see compensations happening. And then here we have one of the largest bodybuilders in the world doing dips, and he's doing it a lot different. 90 degrees, loading up, heavy weight. You're not going to be able to load weight when you do these extreme length and ranges, and you're never going to be huge. Why do all the big guys do it like this? And I'm not going to say that I'm nearly anywhere near as big as James, but I'm a big fan of dips too. And I would never do them with that crazy length and range. I'm about the same range, maybe a little deeper than James. And a lot of times I will do partial. I won't quite lock out. I'll do like 1.5 reps, but I'm not going to go below, like much below parallel with a lot of weight on me. I'm going to lose tension, and that's perfect. That's all I really need right there. That is a good range of motion. All right, so what else do we got?
If you wanted advice on how to get taller, you wouldn't go up to the tallest guy in the locker room and ask him for advice, would you? Of course not. Just because he's tall doesn't mean he knows how he got tall. In fact, he could have gotten tall in spite of what he did, not because of it. The same thing applies to lifting.
God, that's the stupidest comparison I've ever heard. Don't get advice on being tall from someone who's tall. Being tall is like 99% genetic. Building muscle is not 99% genetic. Most people can put on muscle if they eat enough and work out enough. The degrees of muscle can vary, but it's not the same thing at all. That is such a weird cope. And I think it's because he's not jacked. And so he's kind of saying you should listen to me even though I'm not jacked, which is all these exercise science guys go to. They say, well, I might not be the most huge, but you should still listen to me because I'm really smart. The proof is in the pudding, in this industry. If you don't look the part, doesn't matter what kind of stuff you're spewing. Literally, we can see how what you're saying is working based off of how you look.
Just to get nerdy with you for a second, how much you know is only weakly correlated with how big you are. In fact, environmental factors like your genetics, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress, not to mention your PED use, likely
which is always the biggest cope for these natty fitness influencers. They put everything on PEDs when before I ever did a PED, I was much bigger than this guy. Everyone thought I was on PEDs. People that aren't PEDs, their whole goal is still to get as huge as possible. Like I said before, we shouldn't discount them. We shouldn't discount bodybuilders just because they don't always know the science behind the bro science, but oftentimes their intuition is actually correct. And there is a lot of biomechanical reasons why behind it. They just don't know how to express it.
Predict how big you are much more accurately. Don't get me wrong. The biggest guy in the gym can inspire you on account of how big he is and how hard he trains. But the biggest guys in the room aren't always the smartest.
And then he puts himself there, aren't always the smartest. It's give yourself the best goon lighting so it looks like you have an arm, and talk about how smart you are. I mean, come on, bro. You don't see me telling everybody how I skipped second grade whenever I was 7 years old and graduated college at 20 years old. Because that shit doesn't matter when it comes to put on muscle. My physique shows you I know how to put on muscle. I know how to do it aesthetically without injuries. Okay, now this was pretty hilarious, actually. And I gotta say, even though I disagree with a lot of what I see from Milo, I do think he's kind of funny. I think he'd be cool to chill with. I think he does have a little bit of the superiority complex that comes with a lot of us in the industry. So I'm not going to really hold that against him. And I think this is hilarious.
Paul Carter is one of my least favorite people within the fitness industry. Besides accusations of misogyny, here's what I've seen him do. Step 1, you find someone more credible than yourself to copy all of your content from. Step 2, make reels where you awkwardly stand around and eventually pretend to notice the camera.
That's so hilarious. So if you saw my other scrolling through IG where I covered Paul Carter, I brought this up too, where it's he looks so ridiculous and stiff, and it's did he do multiple takes on this? Is he like, no, that one's not good. That wasn't smooth. Hold on, I can do better. Okay, that's the one I'll go with. I mean, this seems like it's meant to be satirical, but it's not. He's serious, which makes it even funnier. Come on, how ridiculous is that?
You've set up all along. Step 3, make extreme claims, selectively citing research to support said extreme claims.
I don't know a ton of what Milo says, and I think he's done some studies himself, but I hear people say the same thing about him. Just putting that out there.
Step 4, if someone disagrees with you or asks you a question, block them. Threaten them in DMs, call them a fat cunt, or as a last resort.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Carter seems like an absolute dick. I would much prefer to hang out with Milo any day of the week than Paul Carter.
If they're really not paying attention to you, maybe even make a bunch of subliminal pathetic disses, just hoping that person finally notices you. According to Paul Carter, and this is a direct quote, the only volume that matters for muscle growth is the last 5 reps before you hit failure on any given set. Nothing else matters for muscle growth. On the one hand, he'll use the most recent meta-analysis to support this extreme claim. On the other hand,
which is something that all you guys do, really,
he will also straight up ignore the part of the analysis that looked at anything past 5 reps in reserve, clearly showing that you can still get good muscle growth, even training further than 5 reps from failure. So if only the last 5 reps really matter, That's pretty difficult to explain.
This is another one of those things that I think is pretty silly and probably doesn't apply to intermediate to advanced lifters. If you're like stopping and you're like 7 reps away from failure, I don't care what kind of study you're showing me, you're not going to grow as much as you stopping 1 or 2 reps away from failure. Like, come on, guys. Like, why do we like try to make things easier to get better results now? Like, when did working harder become a bad thing? Like usually, as long as you're eating enough and sleeping enough, working harder is almost never a bad thing. Very rarely do I see someone who's truly overtraining. Now, what I think is kind of ironic about what Milo is saying is like, I see him and Paul Carter kind of as like 2 sides of the same coin, really. I see Milo use a lot of the same exaggerated like compression techniques and flaring of the rib cage to get like a big crazy range of motion, the same way I see Paul Carter use those same exact orientation patterns and compression techniques to lift more weight. They're just doing it with different goals. So what's hilarious is just today, as I was going to start doing this, I saw this pop up in my feed and I made a comment, and I thought it was really interesting to look at the people that were mentioned in this. So let's look at this real quick. So bodybuilding educator red flags. Number 1, overuse of sensationalist language. Number 2, overconfidence on topics outside their expertise. Number 3, oversimplifying complex topics. So let's look at some of the people that they brought up. So you see me, Dr. Mike all day. I'm always going to throw shit on Dr. Mike any chance I get because fuck Dr. Mike. Paul Carter, 10 likes. I only got 3 for Dr. Mike. That dude that put all his eggs in the stretch-mediated hypertrophy and lengthened partials basket. I think that's talking about Milo, actually. It's got 6. Milo Deep Stretch Wolf. That's got 2. What else do we got on here? Athlete X, Natty Aguilar, Functional Patterns, Andrew Huberman. There's another Paul Carter. His name rhymes with Call Parter. Alex Keiko comes to mind. Yeah, Alex Keiko's garbage. I don't even want to get into how bad that guy is. But it's funny, the 2 most mentioned people are Milo and Paul. So Milo, is so against everything about Paul. Like I said, they're just opposite ends of the spectrum that they almost make a complete circle. And it's funny that they are the 2 most mentioned people with the most likes on this, even though they're very opposite ends of the spectrum. So I just thought that was funny and that was interesting, especially after seeing that last post from Milo. Okay, so this is Everygotdamdre, which is an awesome name. He was just on the Mark Bell's podcast not that long ago, so I think he's been getting pretty popular. This guy is a monster with kettlebells. His legs are beastly. And in this post, he's saying, unpopular opinion, most back pain comes from having a weak back. And there is certainly some truth to that sometimes, but back pain is pretty nuanced, so what I say is this can have some truth for general population, but tends to not be the case with advanced lifters. They tend to be extended and put tons of excess force through their lumbar already. It's more of a positional issue. He responded, that's definitely true. Back pain with advanced lifters is usually a little more complicated than a weakness, but could also be part of the issue, which I like. That's totally true. But what I mean by that is as we get more and more compressed and extended, our pelvis dumps forward and our lumbar becomes a lot more of a fulcrum point because we're missing mobility in our hips, and we're also so used to just driving force through there to help us produce more. And so we don't really need to get stronger there and put more stress because we're just loading it in that already stretched position. What we want to do is one of those boring breathing exercises you see me do where I have my feet up at a 90-degree angle on a wall, I'm letting my pelvis round under me, and I'm trying to get my pelvis to actually reposition. Okay, so I'll overlay one of those over that, but you've seen me do that tons of times if you watch any of my content. That's going to relieve a lot of back pain because you're just not in what's called a concentrically oriented position. And so there was a comment below his, as a physio, it's the same thing. The lifters just have a higher capacity, but are still going beyond their limits in terms of tolerance. And I was like, I don't know, what was I, like 3 weeks out from my show? So I was in a type of mood. I was a little spicy those last 3 weeks. And so I just kind of wrote back, as a physio, I would hope you could recognize that it's not the same thing at all. One person is a force producer whose axial skeleton has undergone anterior to posterior compression, which creates a concentric orientation of lower posterior musculature. Totally different thing than a gen pop person who doesn't need to employ the same compressive strategies. I feel bad for anyone you treat. Ignorance and arrogance is a terrible combo. I got 3 likes. I actually ended up getting like 6 or 7 likes by the end of that. And she had no response to that. And I know that kind of came off like a dick, but that's just like, I just can't stand when people have this like superiority complex and they're ignorant about something. It's like, instead of like asking like questions and trying to figure out more of what I meant or offering some discussion, and just like, actually, I'm a physio and you're wrong because of this. I'm like, I could ask 20 physios that I know personally and they would say the same thing as me. So just because if you have a title, it doesn't mean that your specific knowledge base is better and that you're not ignorant to certain things, because you can only know what you know. Like, you can't help it, but there's a lot out there. You know, it's like some of my my powerlifters that I work with are some of the strongest people in the world, and they have a lot of back pain. They don't need to get stronger. That's not going to help them at all. So here's a post where he is talking about how he builds his legs and improves mobility. And this is great. He's doing some split stance stuff. I mean, this is really awesome here. And I think one of the reasons why he doesn't have back pain is because he's got such great hips. I mean, these are all really good stuff that you don't see bodybuilders doing. We don't do nearly enough split stance stuff like this. Everything is bilateral, and that creates a lot more compression and a lot more compensation. So, I mean, like, check this out. You don't see any bodybuilders doing this kind of thing. And he does it all, and it's good. And he's aware of his body, that he's able to get what he needs out of it. I mean, this is awesome. Some people that try this that don't have their body awareness, they're not going to seek into this hip. They're going to do it kind of funky, but he really does. And then one problem that people sometimes have when they're, like, so aware and so, like, kinesthetically gifted is they kind of forget that most people aren't. And so a lot of times I'll see him recommend doing all these things that are good if we can do them, but they're a little progressed for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people can't go into those split and little weird variations without getting shifty or doing things kind of orienting to make up for lacking relative motion. But if you can, these are great. And he's also strong on the upper body too. This is a half kneeling press with 225, which is awesome. I mean, this guy is supposed to be natty. I believe him. He's a freaking monster. And again, yeah, he's talking about people avoid lunges and split squats because it's more work. You get more results. I think that's true a lot of times because you're getting a lot more adductor, a lot more glutes. And again, you're getting the benefits from improving your mobility. So like I said, I was in a little bit of a spicy mood, and I had made a comment on something Trigili had posted saying, Mike Israetel is the most overrated person in the fitness industry. Worst biomechanics, which created his shit physique. It's not just genetics. It's funny that Stanimal gave me a like for that. I thought that was interesting. And then look at this dude. I got some nut hugger down here, and he says, Dr. Mike would make you his prison wife if you ever got bored, buddy. It's like, those are your type of fans. You know, can't come up with any kind of rebuttal that actually has to do with what we're talking about, biomechanics or anything. So like I said, fuck Dr. Mike. He just put out this interview he did with this guy where he was really shitting on Greg a lot, which I clicked on it because I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not a big fan of Greg. He's kind of a creep, kind of an asshole. So I don't mind seeing Mike shit on him, but I opened it up and he just spent the first like 5-6 minutes shitting on Joel Seedman. This was on Zach T-Lander's, I think, podcast. And, like, it was so uncalled for. He just brought up Joel out of nowhere and just was so fucking mean and shitty to him. And I sent this to Joel. This dickhead pissing me off the way he talks about you. So clueless. The whole first part is just awful. He's being so awful about Joel, just talking so much shit, calling him, like, a fraud. And it's like, I know Joel. I like Joel a lot. He's a nice guy, and he believes 100% what he's saying. And he's pretty spot on. Like, he's not that far off of a lot he's saying. Yeah, maybe people could squat a little bit deeper, but 90 degrees is far more superior than going crazy with excessive range of motion that you don't have. He just said, gotta check it out crazy. Literally presented no science, just opinion. And that's the thing. Dr. Mike isn't as educated as Joel Seaman when it comes to biomechanics. He's an exercise science degree. So it's like, people take his word as gospel when in reality, all he really knows about is like these stupid studies that really don't provide many benefit from knowing. That's the reason why I'm like so shitty on Dr. Mike. It's not just because he gives out horrible information, because he's a dickhead to people that I know and like. All right, so here we have Bald Omni Man, another person I was not aware of. He was recommended to check out. So let's look at his physique real quick. He looks like he's one of these pec pattern guys. Thick back, no lats. Real thick back, actually. Some good traps. But from the front, he's actually got good pecs. You know, doesn't have really good side delts. He got thick pecs. So that makes me think he doesn't press the way these other nerds do, where they're like just super retracted and they don't get any protraction. They just really are extended. So let's see his technique and see if he does things a little differently. That's pretty thick. He's got a thick chest. Not the best delts at all. All right, this squat is ugly. Don't love this squat. That's too much of a butt wink for me. I mean, that is a pretty aggressive one. Here we have some skulls, and he like throws his legs out. It actually keeps him from going into so much extension. I don't know why he does that, but that's interesting. Nothing really too wrong with that. Okay, so let's look at his press. Yeah, so look at that. He has like a huge protraction coming out of the bottom. So he actually does retract a lot. He kind of does a similar thing that Andrew Jack does. If you saw the IG video I did that had him in it, he was like getting like a deep retraction, but was like protracting like right away instead of like staying back there and moving more through the triceps. It's like once you're retracted, the first move is protracting out of there, which is a technique I don't really like that much, but I've seen used pretty effectively. And that looks like what he does. I mean, look at this. Look how much protraction comes up right away compared to like Milo, who you saw earlier. So that's kind of interesting. That's probably why he's got pecs that are developed like that, but not the best delts. Now, if I watch this in isolation, this isn't bad. I mean, he's in crazy extension, and if that's all you do, that is going to create some issues. If everything you do is like that, cervical extension, everywhere is just fully globally extended, that could create some issues. But 5 plates is a good amount of weight on this. That's fucking nice. Actually, I didn't realize he was doing that much. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Again, we have this horrible butt wink as we're going down. That tells me we're missing range of motion in our pelvis. We're not getting true counter nutation to occur. So I've done this before, but if you don't have the ability to have your pelvis have relative motion as you're getting to 90 degrees and have a little bit of counter nutation where the sacral tips back and the innominate bones externally rotate around it, then you're going to get a big butt wink. So as we're coming down, you should be having this little bit of relative motion happening. As soon as you start, we're getting a little bit of relative nutation, and as we get closer to 9 degrees, we need that to tip back. So we will have a little bit of a posterior tilt occur, but if we don't have that relative motion, it's gonna be big like what you see here, because you're just gonna tip and then tip under. That relative motion is going to keep you from using just like one hinge point in your back and putting all the pressure through one area by just moving as a chunk. So if you see a really big butt wink, that means you have very little counter nutation occurring. A little tiny bit of a butt wink is usually okay. Again, I don't want to go crazy heavy with much of a butt wink at all, but a little bit, if it's real small, that means you're actually getting more relative motion. So this is not a lot of relative motion. You can just see the way it bumps out. Now let's look at Lucas, range of strength, and he's kind of demonstrating the bad way, which kind of looked like bald Omni Man. It was actually a little better. Look at this, straight down. Little bit of a butt wink, but not much. Let's look at it one more time. So look at that. Tiny bit of a butt wink at the bottom, not much at all. Let's compare that to Omni Man. It looks a lot different. He kind of looks like a stripper, kind of drop it like it's hot and then bounce it back up, right? So missing relative motion, missing counter nutation. Range of strength has that relative motion, much less of a butt wink. So if you're gonna go deep, it should look like that. Now when we look at this deadlift, this is a deficit deadlift, and now he's pulling with a decent amount of spine flexion, which I actually like, because in the previous deadlift, he was globally extended. So I actually think that's a good thing. I think it's really bad if you do everything through extension, but the fact that he paired that with a deficit with slight flexion, and it was a good flexion, it wasn't like crazy oriented through like 1 or 2 hinge points in the vertebrae, that's really good. You don't want to do all flexion based stuff or all extension based stuff. You want to stay neutral and then get a little bit of both. So I actually really like that. I don't like this leg curl at all that he's doing. It's like immediate hip extension, immediate back extension whenever he's going, like right away. So he's missing tension on the upper hamstrings, which is where we really usually need it. So all in all, I mean, I think bald Omni Man is pretty strong. I don't think he's got like the best physique, but I think if he's natty, he's a beast. I mean, he's deadlifting 5 plates. But I do think that his squats are pretty bad, and he's probably going to have a little bit of back issues from that. All right, this is Eugene Teo, I think, who I was not familiar with either. He was recommended to check out. I did hear Mike Van Wyck and him had a little bit of a back and forth, which I thought was funny. But let's check this out. Okay.
I could not believe just how good this was.
Wow. Okay, this is the first time I've ever heard him talk, actually. I just had him muted earlier. I don't know why I didn't expect him to talk like that. I thought he was going to sound slightly more Asian. Not that Asians sound a particular way.
This felt. If you've ever done triceps pushdowns, but found it hard to use enough weight without feeling like you're being pulled.
This is not what I thought he was going to sound like. I hope that doesn't come off bad. I just thought you have a different voice, bro. It's all good.
Up by the weight stack, this is for you. I used to just use a weight belt and hang some weights off me, and that works fantastically.
That looks kind of silly. Like, can't you just stabilize yourself?
But the other day I thought, what if I used a band? And my God, it absolutely blew my mind.
That's pretty silly. I mean, why can't you use your own low traps and lats to stabilize? Like, I feel like a lot of these exercise science guys are like so obsessed with stability. Like this guy and the what's the guy's name? I covered him on my last scrolling through IG with Bugenhagen and Paul Carter. It's kind of the skinny guy who overuses the models, the skeletal models, for like the most simplistic shit. Oh my god, what's that little dude's name? Hold on, I gotta look it up. Ben Yanes. I feel like these guys are like so obsessed with stability. It's like it's okay to let your own body work to stabilize itself a little bit, okay? It's not gonna take away that much tension from what you're trying to do.
So definitely try it out. Even if you don't have that issue, having the band on your body will give you that little bit of extra stability, which will help you push that little bit harder to get some more reps out.
So when he's saying stability, I guess like, because I mean, I don't even know what you're using that for. Is it to keep your shoulder girdle down? Because it's kind of like, if you have that band on you, it's kind of like having like a big backpack. Anytime you put a band against you, that's what we use for R&T training. Like, you're going to go against it. So you're actually going to like turn off the low traps that you need to actually stabilize that the right way, and you're going to engage your upper traps. And if you have a thick band, maybe it's good enough to keep you down, but you're kind of like neurologically doing what is probably the opposite of what you'd want to do. You're going to activate those upper traps a little bit more. So I just think this is silly. I would never do any of this. I don't really get the point. Now, this move I actually like a lot. I do something real similar. It's actually a really good opener. It's a good warm-up. I mean, you can even get pretty heavy on this if you do it kneeling the way I do. And I guess people like shit on him for that for some reason. That's just a really good warm-up. So internet bullshits as usual. Get back to the basics. These are some of the haters' comments. Imagine you do this at a commercial gym. Never saw pros do this.
I was surprised how many people got triggered by this exercise. This is Larry Scott, the first Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, it's kind of how I do my variation. I have my hand on my knee, my hips are kind of swiveled away, and I'm kind of reaching as I'm going towards the cable and turning into that a little bit, really getting that full stretch. And I think that's an awesome move. You get a full lengthened range on the lat and then a fully shortened contraction.
I would pay an exorbitant amount of money to see this fella go up to Larry in his prime, or maybe even Arnold Schwarzenegger, and turn them into a fine red tape.
Yeah, what a weird, aggressive thing to say. You know, even me, like, a week out from a show on Halo, I'm not going to quite drop that.
But to be fair to the haters, the exercise isn't the best pick for hypertrophy because it's very unstable and you can't...
And we know how obsessed you guys are with stability.
...can't load up with a lot of weight. Fortunately, though, that's not why I do it. Just out of curiosity, let's try load it up.
That seems kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I don't think that's a good move. I mean, I think the way I do it on my knees is much more stable than that. All right, so what do we have here? Jumping. Snatch grip SDL, I love that. Good form, not super extended like crazy. I love Zercher squats. People should do way more Zerchers. And I like the jumps. I mean, I've been trying to do a little more jumps myself lately. It's kind of crazy. As I've gotten older, it's like, I'm afraid to jump now. My body's like, don't fucking do it. I'm like, I don't want to lose that. I go to the trampoline park with my kid. I'm like, fucking scared jumping into the ball pit. I'm like, come on, man. Not that old yet. So here we see Eugene pressing just like all the evidence-based guys. Super flared ribs. As I always talk about, keep a little bit of a stack. Don't throw away that integrity. You'll feel way more in your pecs. You don't even need to come all the way down and touch your chest when you have a full stack, because a full stretch will probably stop you like an inch short, and you'll feel the stretch. You'll feel the tension. And again, don't see much protraction. Oh, there's a little bit there, but not as much as you should see. I like that he doesn't have a crazy round butt wink at the bottom of that hack squat. I like the Zercher squats. Zercher Bulgarians are awesome. So, I mean, most of what I'm seeing from this guy, I'm a fan of. I like the toes elevated hinge for most people. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a lot of stuff that I don't agree with that Eugene posts. Like, I just think he's a little obsessed with stability, and I don't think he knows how to press right, which that's pretty much all these evidence-based guys. Yeah, I think this stuff is great for the general pop. I mean, if you're a bodybuilder, you're not going to be getting a ton of benefit as far as hypertrophy from doing Zerchers, but they're really good at teaching you how to do work without going into crazy extensions. So I like to use them a lot before I go to like my heavy back squat. I love 1 1/4 reps, 1 1/2 reps in that length and range. Just keep these ribs down a little bit, and this would be really good. He does get better protraction than a lot of guys. You see a little bit there. He's got a good mind-muscle connection, you can tell. I love the windmills. These are awesome. So, yeah, I don't have too much negative things to say at all. All right, the last person I'm going to cover is Angus Bradley. Again, I didn't know who this was, another suggestion, so thank you guys. I appreciate it because My world is just bodybuilders and physical therapists, so these are all new to me. So he says, 5 things I wish I knew before I started going to the gym. Strength and hypertrophy are so similar, you can train them concurrently. I agree. When you find a program that works, run it into the ground. I agree pretty much. Machines are pretty functional when your goal is taking muscle to complete failure. Agree. Push-pull ratios are stupid. Test each part of your body to see how much volume is required. I definitely agree. This is another thing I covered in one of my scrolling through IG vids. I was talking about how dumb and like not founded in any kind of science these push-pull ratios are. And the last one is, unless you train like absolute crap, nutrition is probably the rate limiter on your physique development. I think I put more emphasis on biomechanics than most people. So I don't think you have to be training like absolute crap, just like, I think you have to be training like subpar, and that could have just as big of an impact as your nutrition, assuming you're just not eating like the biggest asshole in the world. Let's look at his form on this. That's heavy. Oh, and that's pretty. Nice. Not a crazy butt wink or anything at all there. All right, train your hip flexors as a warm-up before your squats and hinges. I agree. This is a super underutilized warm-up. Something we do in FRC a lot is train the hip flexion before we do the squats. This is interesting. You might not like it, but this is what high performance looks like. So we see these athletes in these different positions. So look at this guy's lower back, how compressed it is. And that's because he's a sprinter. His center of gravity is so far forward. If you're a sprinter, you really don't want to be like in mid-propulsive state or in like a stance position. You want to always almost be getting off your leg onto the other one, so that really forward center of gravity will do that. That's also why their feet look like this, is so that they're so pronated, they're already ready to produce force into the ground and get you sprinting. So this is how like LeBron James' feet look, a lot of sprinters, and it's because of what they do. And here we have, this is Michael Phelps with his kind of crazy protracted shoulder girdle. So for these athletes, their bodies have totally adapted to the stress that they've placed it under for their whole lives. All these guys have been doing these sports since they were little kids, most likely. So their body adapts that way. But high performance doesn't mean that you like feel good. Like most athletes are pretty fucked up. No, athletes, they tend to have a lot of issues. Just because your body adapts to a certain way so you can perform better, usually that adaptation doesn't benefit you in everyday life. You don't necessarily want to go through everyday life so far forward with your center of gravity. It's beneficial for sprinting, not really beneficial for just walking around and living. All right, so what does he say on here? You've noticed that there are quite a few athletes who would have trouble passing an FMS test, to say the least. I don't know what FMS is. Really makes you question whether a lot of the things that we often demonize in possible presentations are really that big of a deal. It all depends on the context, you know? Like for your sport, like I said, you might have some presentations that are a little weird. Like I got a buddy who works with a lot of Cirque du Soleil people. They present like crazy. Not what I would say is optimal, but optimal for what they're doing. But again, they have tons of issues. So high performance usually leads to some kind of issues down the road. What do we have here? Unless your life revolves around training, you probably never need to program a deload. Another thing I agree with, Angus. I don't think most people need deloads. Your life just makes you deload when you don't really want to anyway. I mean, I really don't even deload. I might do like one little deload a year. So far I've been really on board with everything Angus has said. This one I'm not really, okay? So he says, as a personal trainer, you're under no obligation to formally assess your clients before you start training them. That to me sounds very irresponsible. He says, assuming they've been cleared to exercise by a doctor, which no one does. No one goes and gets cleared before they start exercising. Most people just start the routine, so you can't assume that at all. You're completely fine to go straight into some low-level exercise where you can learn more about the client as they train in front of you. Well, some people can't even really function with gravity, you know? So if you're trying to have someone work out and you're just assessing their situation, it's like, you're not gonna be able to tell what's wrong based on someone's squat. You can't tell where that limitation is. Is it limited dorsiflexion? Are they just not coordinated? Are they missing internal rotation in the hips? You need to put them on a table and check out a few things. Encouraging new trainers to assess, diagnose, and prescribe exercises like a doctor is just madness. I do agree with that, though. If you don't have the skill set, like, don't try to do things you can't do. That just, you know, people can sense that. You're just going to make yourself look silly. But if you are able to, you can build a ton of value by doing a good, thorough assessment. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put somebody on the table. I'm going to run through 10 to 15 minutes of table tests. And that 10 to 15 minutes is going to allow me to structure the whole workout without having to like play this guessing game and try to regress exercises, because that kind of really devalues what you're doing when you have to regress. So what I'll do is I'll put them on the table, I'll run through everything, I'll do a couple things to show them improvements right away. We'll do like a positional exercise where they've gained 15 degrees of internal rotation right away. A lot of times they can feel that difference in a compound move too. And now I've built a ton of value that I wouldn't have if I just started working them out right away. So this one I really don't agree with, but it does kind of depend on your skill set, I would say. But for me personally, this is how I build up most of my value, is through the assessment. Even if I got somebody who's really fit that's been working out forever, I'm still going to put them on the table. All right, shout out to people who always live with a neutral spine and still have back pain. Must be confusing for them. Yeah, I agree. You don't want to only do neutral. You want your body to know what flexion feels like. It definitely knows what extension feels like. You're putting your body through some extension, I promise. Don't want to lift through excessive extension. Don't want to go through excessive flexion. It should be able to do it all. So I agree with this, although we do have to be careful training flexion. There's kind of a high risk to reward ratio. And I think this is the last one. Unilateral squats and deadlifts aren't safer than bilateral ones. Coaches who exclusively use single leg work also just happen to be the ones who sandbag the shit out of every exercise. When you actually load them up, the risk is the same. I agree with that. I do think if you're loading up a split squat max effort, you have a good likelihood of shifting and getting funky, at least just as good as doing something wrong with a bilateral squat. I do think there are more benefits if you can do the unilateral one with good form as far as restoring relative motion. And I do think there are good benefits to doing slightly submaximal unilateral moves before you do maximal bilateral moves as well. But yeah, if you're doing exclusive single leg work because you think that's safer or going to help your mobility, you got to still do it right. And it does sometimes get easy to get wonky when you're in a split squat setup if you are rotated one way and you're not really aware of what's going on. So all in all, I'm pretty on board with what Angus Bradley has to say. He's also strong as fuck. So I like him. All right, so that's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys for giving me some suggestions because like I said, I really don't follow a lot of the fitness influencers, people on social media. So same thing in the comments, drop some names of some people that I should cover on the next one and I'll check it out. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching.